Well, I discovered something pretty amazing. As you can put cups in the freezer, and that goes really well with sambuca. Let me just open that. Man. Damn it. Ah. Mmm. Oh, it's so good. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, 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 yum. Now, I want to talk about something. Uh, Yum, yum, yum. Like when you if you've ever taken a course in like marketing or like media relations, things like that. Like one thing they tell you is like in the media you have you assume that people have like a very short attention span. See, this is like something to unclog the toilets. Like you put this in the toilet and then you sort of push that and you like, see, oh, I think it's broken. Fuck, it's broken. Oh well, because it's supposed to like go inside and it's broken. Oh well. Anyway, so wait, is it broken? Wait a minute. No, it's kind of working, I guess. Yeah. See, it goes out like that, and then that goes in the bathroom in the toilet bowl, and then you turn this like that, and it just like unclogs the toilet. Anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so like, so one thing in the media that you learn is that people have a very short attention span, and we're talking like really just a few seconds. So if you're interviewed, if you get interviewed by a journalist or by the television crew or whatever, ouch, god damn it, there we are. This is like a hotel coffee machine from the Delta. Anyway, I think I have another one somewhere. Anyway, so if you get interviewed by the media, you have to give like really short answers if you want to get any attention. And like one example is about, well, a bit more than 15 years ago, I think it was like 2007, there was a factory in Montreal that closed, okay? And like the company that owned the factory like was like super rich. They were making like record profits. But they closed the factory, to lower their production costs. So it's like an economic decision, okay? But they're doing really well financially. They're doing really well. But to save some money, they closed that factory. So a bunch of people lost their jobs. And so the president of the FTQ is like one of the biggest trade union organizations in Quebec. It's called the Fédération des Travailleurs du Québec, so the FTQ. And like trade unions are supposed to protect the workers, but there's not much they can do when a company just closes, right? I mean, like they're supposed to protect workers from being fired or losing their jobs unjustly, but what can you do when the factory or the store or whatever just closes its doors? There's not much you can do. But recently there was like a Supreme Court decision involving a Walmart, and what happened was that the Walmart closed because the employees had started the process to form a union, and as soon as the process was started, like Walmart closed the store because they didn't want to deal with unions. So in this case, this factory the company just closed the factory to save money, and so the FTQ is like this big overarching organization in which a lot of trade unions are connected to, and so the president was interviewed, and he had to comment on what happened, and so he could have said something like, oh, well, companies have a social responsibility to take care of the people and to make sure they do not cause harm to society. And so he could have said something like that. Nobody would have cared. It would not have even made the news if he had said that. What he said is just two words. It says, if you translate to English, it said savage capitalism. Or capitalisme sauvage in French. So savage capitalism, just two words, and that made headlines. Because it's quick, it's an attention grabber, like right away, savage capitalism, oh shit, what happened? Like as soon as you see the title, you want to know what's going on. You want to like read the article, right? And so that's always been true, ever since the beginning of mass media, ever since, they started broadcasting television, like political stuff on television, like during the John Kennedy election when he was running against Richard Nixon. If you watch their debate, it's like it's all so civil, and they're just like talking like college professors. Now, if you watch Joe Biden and Donald Trump or Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, they're not talking like college professors. They're just like trying to catch the other with one-liners, with quick attention grabbers. Like when John McCain told Obama, because Obama kept criticizing McCain for being like George Bush, so McCain said, "I'm not George Bush. If you wanted to run against George Bush, should have run 4 years ago." These are the kind of like attention grabbers, sort of one-liners. And so as television became more and more prevalent, well, politics became more and more like attention grabbers, one-liners, and that's like, that's why everybody hates Al Gore, because he when he does a speech, he goes up there and starts talking like a college professor, and like you're not watching a rally or a discourse, you're just like sitting in class and la 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 la. It's just like boring, But I mean, what he says like maybe super real and interesting, but like he doesn't catch your attention as much. And Sambuca is so good, man. What do I have in there? A toaster, freezing thingies for the. Oh, holy shit! There it is. Whoa, I was looking for that for years. Oh wow, fuck. There that thing is. Anyway, out. So like today, we've sort of amped that up to an extreme with social media. And that's because like there's something about social media, like Twitter or YouTube, Facebook, all these things. And even, if you say something to traditional media, it still gets reported in social media. So it's all kind of connected. And if like everybody who is participating in these Twitter things, what they're looking for is like they want their comment or their tweet or post or whatever to be boosted by the algorithm. And in order to do that, well, they have to write something that like the people who see it are going to send to their friends, right? They're going to want to comment on it. So anything that makes people want to write something, want to comment on it, want to like send it to everybody, that gets boosted, right? But if you write like something like a mathematical study of carbon emissions and blah 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 blah, and like your post might be super informative, but no one's gonna read it because it's not an attention grabber. See, remember what we said at the beginning, like the attention span is very short. And so this is like, if you see these days, you're always going to hear like some no-name state representative or state senator from fucking Utah or Texas or like, so some, because in the United States, if you're like a congressman or if you're a senator, okay, that's kind of a big deal. But if you're a state representative or state senator, it's much less of a big deal, right? Because you're elected by, what could be like a very, very small district in the state. So it might be like, a few hundred people who vote for you, depending on where you're from, you could, it's not really a big deal. And so what these people want is they want to go federal. They want to get noticed. And so the way they do that, they use social media, they try to boost themselves, they try to boost their profile, boost their visibility, and like, oh, that's so good, man. Yum, 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 yum. And so, like, once in a while, you're gonna hear this no-name state senator from some state somewhere that says the most fucking outrageous thing that you would have never heard like 20 years ago, like something, I don't know, like a pro-slavery comment, or like, you know, something about, oh, well, the Nazis did some good too, or there's some redeemable qualities about Adolf Hitler, things like that, things that are like really, really, really extreme, that you just read and like, what the fuck? But of course, the reason they do that is because no one would ever hear their name outside their district if they don't do that, right? That's just the way social media works. And you have to be like as shocking, as crazy, as like provocative as possible. And I think that's the word. It's provocative. You have to be provocative. You have to say something that makes people angry. Because the more, like, if you read something and it makes you reflect and think, and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I haven't thought of that. Well, that's fine. But if you read something that makes you angry, what happens is that when you're angry, you engage. You want to respond to that tweet to tell him to fuck off. You want to send it to your friends and like, oh my god, look at what this asshole did, And I mean, the more you make people angry, the more you're generating all those things that are going to boost your social media algorithm. And it's like, a few years ago, there was this thing on Netflix, where Dave Chappelle, the comedian Dave Chappelle, like a stand-up comic, he was making trans jokes. And of course, people were getting angry. And I mean, I would have never, ever heard about Dave Chappelle having like this stand-up show on Netflix. I would have never heard about it, like, had it not been for the trans jokes, because that's what made it go sort of viral. That's what made people talk about it. That's what, I mean, if it hadn't been for the trans jokes, the media wouldn't have been like reporting on it so much. Like, people wouldn't have been so angry about it. And I think what happened is that it actually, like, the fact that he made people angry with the trans jokes, and like people were just like attacking him and trying to boycott Netflix or something. That was, I don't remember what it was. I think there was like a riot against Netflix or something. That actually made the thing more popular, because people, oh my god, I'm curious, I want to see now, And so many people heard about it that would not have heard about it before. And he's like, oh, nice. And it's sort of kind of like that. If the more provocative you are, the more it gets you up, right? And so, like, that's why, like, political discourse these days, it's inundating all the social media. The Twitter is just like, I mean, it's this thing where you just see the most extreme stuff, the most ridiculous stuff. Like, there was a girl who made a video, I don't remember what it was, on Twitter or TikTok or one of these things, and she said something like, if you are trying to lose weight on purpose, you are fat phobic. I mean, there was another one, a girl who said something like, I don't remember what it was, but like, something about how she's not interested in men who are under 6 feet tall, or make under six figures, something like that, and it's just, I mean, it's meant to be provocative, and people see that, and they're like, man, like, well, I might be 5'11", but I'm blah 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 blah, and blah 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 blah, and why is it okay for girls to objectify men, but not okay for men to objectify girls? Why is it okay for girls to say they want tall men, but it's not okay for why is it okay for girls to say they don't want short men, but it's not okay for men who say that they don't want fat girls? Like, so people get mad, people just like comment on it. People are like, well, yeah, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. And other people, well, they agree, which boosts their own profile, because then they are the ones who get, like, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. And of course, when you log into those websites, well, what you get in your, like, recommended viewing thingies, it's those things, because it generates responses. And because it's so provocative, it's so shocking, it's so, like, outrageous, that it generates like this sort of engagement. And now the whole media landscape, that's what it's all about. And if you're looking at it now, you're like, oh shit, the world has gone crazy. Everybody has these extreme views nowadays. And that's really what it looks like. Oh, oh my God, this is so good. So, like, you know, if you go back 50 years or so, uh, or more than that, you know, like, let's you go back to the 60s, 70s, well, less the 70s, more like the 50s and 60s. And the difference between, like, if you stay in the United States, right? Like, considering the United States, the difference between a liberal and a conservative, or a Democrat and a Republican, well, the differences exist, but they're not really that pronounced. You know, they're not really that strong. There's more of a difference between the North and the South than between the Democrats and the Republicans. And you see that when you look at, like, who voted for the, you know, all these civil rights things at the time of, you know, like Martin Luther King and all that, you know, the Voting Rights Act and everything. And it's not really divided by Democrats and Republicans. It's more divided by northern and southern politicians. But I mean, you watched the John Kennedy versus Nixon debate. What year was, I think it was 1960? Was it 1960? Like during the election, and like they're agreeing with each other quite a lot. It's like, oh well, I agree with my esteemed opponent, blah blah, and I would like to add the blah blah blah. It's sort of like that, you know. But then you fast forward to 2016, it's Donald Trump telling Hillary Clinton, "Oh, you'd be in jail," you know. So it's it's quite a development, you know. It's quite and like today, people like look at the Obama versus McCain debates, and they're like, well, that's pretty civil, but actually it was already bad even then. But you remember, like, at 2000, the primaries between George Bush and John McCain, and like the George Bush campaign actually like tried to make a scandal because John McCain adopted a black kid, and they're like, oh, like he had sex with his black housekeeper or something, you know. And it's just like, come on, you know. But yeah, but that works. That's what, you know, that what gets the media's attention. And social media works kind of the same way, but it's all automated now, you know. It's all it's all boosted by this sort of invisible computer that just calculates how much people engage. But, you know, so it's automated, it's quicker, it's more accessible. Everybody participates in that, not just the politicians now. But yeah, so you go back far enough, and the difference is that, like, you don't feel like the political parties are different to the extreme they are today. And today it's like, shit, I mean, if you're on the left, it's like, okay, the Republicans are Nazis. If you're on the right, it's like, oh, the liberals, the Democrats, they're communists. They wanna erase gender. They wanna all this stuff that people are saying, and it's just like, it's like two different universes, and all you see is like, all you see is the most extreme stuff. You know, how many Karen videos are there on YouTube? You know, like the Karens, like these women. I think, well, there's men's too. I think they call them Kevins, but usually people call them male Karens, and they're just like, you know, they start screaming for whatever thing. You know, like there was one that, like, this old lady, super old lady, she sees a guy with like, you know, like these guide dogs for the handicapped or whatever, and she starts screaming at him like she wants to see the documents that authorize him to have this, and like I think she even kicked the dog, you know, like so entitled. I mean, these people have always existed. You know, there's always been people like that. I mean, it's nothing really all that new. It's always existed. Like, these people just have these like crazy meltdowns in public places. But now, I mean, everybody has like a camera with them nowadays. You know, it used to be like when you go to a movie theater, they search your bags for cameras. How are they gonna do that now? Every fucking person has one with them, at all times. So, but like, so every time someone like that starts screaming at everyone, what happens? Like, people whip out their cell phone and start filming. It's like you have a car crash down the road, and then some people are injured in the car. What do? Do you go and try to help, try to open the doors? No, you whip out your cell phone and film. Come on, it's crazy. But so it just gives this impression that the world has gone insane. And that's what social media does. Social media creates an illusion that makes you think the world has gone completely insane, because what you see is the most extreme stuff. Because the most extreme stuff is what creates the most anger and what makes you want to comment the most. And I mean, if a girl makes a video and says, well, women like good men who are reliable, who are not gonna have secrets like, I don't want to find out 10 years in my marriage that he has $100,000 gambling debt or something, blah, blah, blah. If she says something like that, she's gonna get like 2 replies. One from her grandma says, I'm proud of you, but if she says, oh, well, there's no way I'm ever gonna even look at a guy who's under 6 feet tall, well, then that gets a lot of replies. That gets a lot of people like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I just start screaming at everybody. So you look at that, and if you don't think, like, your reaction is like, oh, women these days only like tall men, and like, so people believe that because that's what's shown to them, And what else do I have in there? Move the sword to elsewhere so it's not here anymore. Oh yeah, that's one of the vinyl. How do you say vinyl tiles? I don't like those though. They're like really thin. They're the cheap ones. I need to redo the floor here. I just fucked it up. That was years ago. Gotta rip everything out and start over. Anyway, wait a minute. So like, I mean, let's say let's say 20 years ago, I don't know, 20 years ago, a high school somewhere has a trans teacher. Like, okay, we have a trans teacher. Nobody cares, right? Nobody talks about it. Nobody says anything. It's just this thing that's, okay, well, we have a trans teacher. Fine. But today, half the class is going to just be filming with their cell phones and like, oh, our teacher wants us to like call her by such and such pronouns and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And then people are going to be kind of commenting, and half the people in the comments are going to be defending the teacher. The other half are going to be saying the teacher should be fired. And then it just creates a discussion and blah, 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 blah. And then it goes viral. And before you know it, like millions of people have seen it, and it just like everything that is like, everything that creates anger, everything that creates controversy, everything that makes people react, and that's all you see. And so and it's a shame because you think that the world is crazy. You feel like the world is just going completely bananas. But, I mean, there's things happening in the world that are not good, and that people are more and more poor these days because the inflation, it keeps going up. The interest rates are really high right now, so people can't buy houses. And, the wages, I put CLR on these things, they just still smell really bad. I need to, like, rinse them in water because the smell, see, because of all the rust. I try to put CLR, but it smells really bad. So, like, if I use these to cut food, the food's going to smell like CLR. It's probably going to kill me or something. Not use too much CLR. This thing is really good, by the way, the No More Nails. It works really well. Anyway, so like, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, Sambuca. Yeah, I used to have thingies like this, like, it's something to boost like the Wi-Fi signal. But I used to have something that was just like that, and it was like for the for the mice, like it would make like a little noise that humans can hear. Like humans can't hear it, but mice can hear it, and it would just like throw the mice away. It used to be here. Anyway, yeah, so like what's really going on right now is that with every year that passes, the people are more and more poor. If you have, I don't know, if you have $10,000 in the bank and you just leave it there and it's not invested, well, every year your $10,000 is worth less and less. And everything you buy, shit, like even like if you want to do silicone or caulking or whatever, like you want to paint, you want to do renos, this is actually not really good for the, you use this one for like cement or stuff, but there's a different one, like it's white, it's thinner when you want to do for the drywall. Anyway, but if you want to do renos, you buy like 2 or 3 things at the hardware store, and your bill is $200. It's crazy that the prices have gone up so much. The grocery prices have gone up, and for some people it doesn't matter, but like, if you're paying rent and the rent is going up, like the recommendations this year in Quebec's like 5% rent increase, which is insane for people. And so that's the real story, that's what's happening, that people are just becoming more and more poor. And it's going faster and faster ever since COVID, the war in Ukraine. Like the economic situation gets worse and worse for a lot of people. I mean, if your money is tied up in investments, you don't give a shit. But like if you're on a salary, if you're paying rent, then it's really, really bad. But you try to find an answer to, why it's like that. You go on social media and you're not going to find your answer, because the only thing you're going to find is what makes people angry. And it's just going to push you far in one direction or far in the other. And then what happens is that you feel that the people who agree with such and such positions, they're your team, right? And you're like, you have to agree with every position of one team or the other team. That's why both sides seem like so fucking far apart now. It's not like, I mean, try to have a political debate like John Kennedy and Richard Nixon in 1960. You wouldn't see that nowadays. You wouldn't see like 2 politicians from different parties agreeing with each other that much. It just doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, people have to sort of, this is really good. Yeah, you have to kind of look past that, and because it just makes you feel like the world has gone completely crazy. Like that's what it makes it sound like. Anyway, so stay safe and keep yourselves informed. Don't go crazy. Just like, I know things are bad for everyone these days, but like, yeah, it's gonna be okay. See you guys later. Bye bye.